I think with this level of attendance, we could get through very easy, because I see only like-minded people in the room. So, do you hear me? Sorry? Weak. May I ask technicians to help me out? Seems that there is some technical problem. So, is it now better? 1, 2, 3. It's better now. Good. What I was saying good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to see you here, and with this group of people in the room, all like-minded, we would get through all the questions very quickly, I believe. And yesterday we had some remaining requests for the floor on the subject of IGF's place in an evolving internet governance landscape, and I would like to see if those people who asked for the floor would like to take them now. Virat was one of them. Would you like to after? There's who else wanted to intervene on this subject yesterday? Matthew, please.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not sure if it makes sense to do that. Are you asking if I'd like to do that now or to postpone? I don't mind.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Would you be so kind to repeat what you said?
Sorry, Chair. I was just asking if you'd like me to postpone it until later, as you wish.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
So, Chair, just to follow up on our discussions yesterday, I'd like to make a couple of points. One of which is I think that we are all aware of the urgency of the task ahead of us for the IGF for this year. But I think it's something that we do need to spend particular amount of time on, that we do need to dedicate the right resources to addressing as much as possible the impact and the value of the IGF, to fully and properly assess what the impact of the IGF has been so that we can ensure its continuity going into the future. We know that the IGF has had considerable support from UNESCO. We know that the IGF has considerable support in the UNGIS process. And we know that there is considerable support for the IGF amongst a number of governments and many stakeholders. But I think there's actually more that the IGF can do. And as we'll hear a little later on, we talked a little bit about this morning in the themes session. But certainly I would encourage the IGF to contribute more to its role in the internet governance space. And there are three particular things that I think we should consider. One of which is, how do we encourage, develop, and promote the multi-stakeholder approach or model as we talk about? And this is something I think that we've done in workshops, and we've done it on an ad hoc basis, but I would like to see and encourage a specific track dedicated to promoting the multi-stakeholder model of internet governance. I would also like to see the IGF support and enable, in whatever mechanisms or approaches is possible, the increased enhanced cooperation across all stakeholders towards internet governance. Now, whether again this is something that falls under multi-stakeholderism or it's something in workshops, but we need to address these issues head on. And finally, I think it's incredibly important that we not get bypassed by events and discussions. We have the Brazil meeting coming up. I think it's a wonderful idea to have the Brazil meeting, but it has consumed a lot of our attention and focus. And therefore, I think that we also, as the Internet Governance Forum, in true multi-stakeholder fashion, also need to talk about the evolution of the Internet ecosystem. And I would like to see those as core areas of our focus going forward for the remainder of this year and into the future. Thank you.
So thank you, Matthew. Now I'm looking. Are there any other people who would like to speak, or I would try to draw conclusions and would make a suggestion. Anybody else? Okay, if none, then let me try to very briefly sum up the debate that we had over on this subject. I think that we have, all of us, shared understanding that the initial intent of creation of IGF is still very valid, and the multi-stakeholder discussion platform on internet related issues, not necessarily governance issues only, is valuable, as there is no single place where internet governance or internet related issues could be discussed elsewhere. The progress or the value of Internet Governance Forum is also underlined or proved by the fact that there has been a proliferation of IGFs at the national and regional levels. And I think that this is another proof of usefulness of such multi-stakeholder discussion platform. We also discussed and overwhelmingly thought that IGF needs to change with the changing external environment, and this would be our task to guide this transformation of IGF in the future. And finally, I didn't hear anybody doubting or questioning the extension or desirability of extension of IGF past 2015. So I think that these were main conclusions that I would like to draw from our discussion. That said, I also wanted to inform you that on 23rd of February, and here I'm talking under control of Vyacheslav, will be first meeting of preparatory meeting for Brazil conference, and United Nations will be represented at that meeting with Assistant Secretary General Gus, and we are asked maybe to suggest, if we wish so, what Assistant Secretary General what message Assistant Secretary General could convey on behalf of the MAG during this first preparatory meeting. And if you would be agreeable, we would convey maybe these conclusions, what I just outlined, to Mr. Gas, that he could pass that message during the first preparatory meeting. And in other words, that IGF is useful platform, the usefulness has been proven by creation of number of national, regional IGF, multi-stakeholder IGF platforms, and that in the future, whatever internet governance ecosystem change is planned, IGF should be part of it. Transformed IGF should be part of it. In other words, not to lose this multi-stakeholders discussion platform in the future. If that would be, if you would agree on that outline, of course we would fine-tune the wording and would pass that message. Virat, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we get some time to try and discuss this? It's an important issue for the whole MAG to come together for the message that is going to go to the UN. And I agree with the message that you've given out, but could we try and spend, say, 5 minutes on this after lunch so that we have a chance to sort of come back to you with specific issues?
So thank you, Marilyn.
I support a short further discussion, but I will propose that we should strengthen and enhance the positiveness of the message we are sending about the proven success and importance of the IGF, and perhaps we can come up with language, but I would like us to perhaps send a slightly more powerful, positive message. Thank you.
Okay, we need to send or pass the message to New York before 2 o'clock. This was we were given the deadline then. If so, if we, I heard that we are in agreement in principle that what I outlined would be agreeable. So if that's the case, if you wish to give a try, both of you, Virat and Marilyn, until 1 o'clock to put together 3 bullets along the lines which I outlined, we would pass them on to New York.
We will attempt that and give it to you by 1 o'clock, Mr. Chairman.
The question was whether so there were other people who were asking for the floor yesterday, and I'm looking. And I'm looking whether those who asked for the floor want to intervene. Robert, would you like to? You asked for the floor yesterday on the placement of IGF in the landscape. Would you like to say something?
Dear Chairman, dear colleagues, many important aspects of IGF agenda have already been covered by our colleagues, so I would like to touch only some of them. The IGF is a unique dialogue platform. Of course, we need to save it, but it's necessary to review the mandate, to change the structure and format necessary to reconcile the role of the IGF in the world system of internet governance. We must adequately respond to the challenges facing today the whole world. If this doesn't happen, the internet will gradually disintegrate international segments, human rights will be continue to be violated, the trust of users to the internet will fall, and the future of internet will be decided by small groups under closed doors. In my opinion, the forum should be more effectively structured. We need to define the duties of the stakeholders. For example, each stakeholder may discuss it specifically and make the decision for the general discussion. They need to determine the format of decision making. They need to determine how these decisions are implemented. Also, MAC needs to have new powers of the new format. It should be a decision-making body and not just a forum for discussion of the agenda of the IGF. This does not mean that the forum should be less open. On contrary, it should be open but more structured, that our work could lead to the concentrate results and have a strong actually to the world. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So thank you for your remarks. We take note of them, and that concludes the debate under this agenda item. And I would like now to move on to the next agenda item, annual meeting 2014, and would like to invite our hosts to make a presentation and share with us their remarks, if any. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, as Turkey, we have prepared a brief presentation, and Ms. Kandemir is going to make the presentation on behalf of Turkey. Yes, Ms. Kandemir.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. My name is Aysel Kandemir. I am the Chief ICT Expert working for ICTA. I am having a great privilege to have presentation for you regarding the IGF to be conducted in 2014 in Istanbul. This is the agenda of my presentation. Generally, I will give brief information and some highlights on Istanbul, Turkey, ICTA, the conference venue, and I would like to give some information regarding the preparatory works done until today. It's okay? Sorry about that. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. This is the first page of my presentation, and then this is the second. Sorry about that. You may need power plug information because we need here 220 volt and 50 hertz. You can see the picture of our power plugs. For Istanbul is the biggest city of Turkey in terms of population, trade and finance and cultural activities. Population of Istanbul is over 14 million as of December 2013. It's a very crowded city. Average temperature in September usually is 20 Celsius degree and warm, sometimes very light rain, but it's very nice to have to be in Istanbul in September. It's the disabled friendly city, especially Taksim Square. You will have these facilities around the city. The Istanbul has the historical peninsula stretching between the Marmara Sea and Golden Horn. It's like an open museum bearing the traces of Ottoman, Byzantine and Ottoman empires and Roman empires. Istanbul is the center of international, national sea and airways. There are two international airports. One is the Atatürk Airport, the other is the Sabiha Gökçen Airport. For the public transportation, there's a link where you can search and find better way and convenient ways to travel within Turkey. Regarding the Information Communications Authority, which I am working for, It is responsible for the overall organization of the IGF 2014. It is established in the year 2000. It regulates ICT and postal sector in Turkey. It's autonomous in decision making, and this decision making body of the ICTA is the ICT board. It consists of 7 members, including the chairman, and the chairman and members of the board are appointed by the Council of Ministers. When we look at the human resources, there are total 829 employees. They are very well educated, some of them baccalaureate degrees, master degrees, and PhD degrees, as you can see from the slides. Regarding the ICTA organization, apart from his work for regulating the sector for postal and ICT, ICTA hosted many organizations, various international conferences and meetings. I would like to draw the attention to some of the major events. One is the ITU WRC 2000 and Radio Communication 2000, Radio Assembly 2000. They are held in the year 2000 from 1st of May until 9th of June. It lasted 40 days, and there were 2,500 delegations from 120 countries. The venue was ICEC, which is the venue where IGF 2014 will be held. There were participation at the highest level from the ministry level. The other conference conducted in the same venue is the VTDC, WTDC, I mean World Telecommunication Development Conference of ITU. Those are United Nations Special Agency, I mean ITU Special Agency of the United Nations. It is conducted in 2002. 1,200 delegations participated to that meeting, and also high-level participation from the ministerial level. The other conference is the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference, which is the highest decision-making body of ITU. It is conducted in Port Royal Hotel, Antalya. There were 2,100 participants from 166 countries. There were very high participants, high-level participants from 33 ministries, 18 deputy ministries, and 47 ambassadors. And we conduct all these 3 conferences very successfully under the coordination of ICTA. Regarding the conference venue, it is located in the heart of Istanbul, and it is very center of the hotel region, very walking distance to the Taksim Square. Hosted various events such as conferences, fairs, and exhibitions. Some major events conducted in ICEC other than the I mentioned before. It is the UN Habitat in 1996, OSCE 1999, IMF and World Bank of Governor Board. And also, list all countries of UN conference is conducted in the year 2011 within the same venue. Regarding the hotels, as you can see from the map, there are various hotels nearby the conference venue. The price ranges from 3-star, 4-star to 5-star, as you can see from the slides. This is very rough figures. This can be given in the host country web pages later on. For the capacity of ICEC, the venue is the oldest conference center and has the largest ballroom in Istanbul. Has 2 buildings, main building and Rumeli building, with a total 40,000 meters square. Main building with a capacity of 2,000 people and plus 19 meeting room from 10 to 140 people capacity. I will show you the details on these slides. The Rumeli Fair and Exhibition Hall, the other building next to the main building, offers further 5 ballrooms, boardrooms, and 6 VIP suites, as well as 45 square meter business center. ICEC is suitable for people with limited mobility. I will show you details of ICEC Convention Center from this link. Regarding the venue, you can see where ICEC located and the places nearby, the main hotels near ICEC. And Bosphorus you can see. It has a Bosphorus view also. This is the entrance of the main building. This is the main foyer. There are 3 main entrances and 2 VIP entrances. Here is the main foyer from various attractions, this picture. This is the registration at the main foyer. And also again a picture from main foyer. This is the room in the main building. It is Anadolu Auditorium. It has a theater style capacity of 2,000 seats, and it can be converted to classroom style with a 218 seats. You can see the settings in the classroom style where it is conducted fourth United Nations Conference on the least developed countries. And also OSCE conducted in Anadolu Auditorium in Istanbul, same building. And also it's a good place for some TV shows and attractions, as you can see, some concert, etc. with a auditorium style, with a theater style. This is the empty place, Anadolu Auditorium right now. The other hall is the Marmara Hall in the main building with a theater style capacity 500 seats. With a classroom style, it's a capacity of 200 seats. It can be used for various attractions, for various events. This is the Marmara Hall again for the World Congress. This is the classroom style setting in Marmara Hall. This is the dining sitting for in Marmara Hall again. This is the foyer of Marmara Hall. The other meeting room is Topkapı A plus B. This is a big hall, can be divided into two. As a total theater style capacity of 530 seats. With a classroom style, it's 250 seats. This is the general view as a theater style. And also it's disabled friendly place with an elevator for disabled people to the meeting room. There are Sultan rooms, 1, 2, 3 halls. It's sport style capacity of from 24 to 36 seats. And also again Sultan room with this seating. There are Levant rooms, 4 Levant halls. It is board style capacity of 6 to 20 seats. You can see the Levant hall. And there's a Haliç hall, theater capacity of 330 seats and classroom style 150 seats. This is again Haliç hall. And another big room is Dolmabahçe, A plus B plus C. This can be used also for workshops for IGF. It's a theater style capacity of 380 seats, and with a classroom capacity style 180 seats. And this is also can be divided into 3 and can be joined as AP plus C or A, B or C separately. You can see the settings as a classroom and board style. A Galata Hall with a theater capacity of 120 seats. Classroom style of 54 seats. Again Galata Hall. Galata Hall foyer. This is the main building diagram. You can see this is the lower level where Topkapı A and B and Barbaros rooms can be seen. Topkapı A can be used for workshops, also Topkapı B can be used for the meetings. Barbaros 1 and 2 and 3 can be used for the board meetings, bilateral meetings, etc. This is the main building ground level, mainly Anadolu Auditorium, 2,000 people in a theater style, as I mentioned earlier. This is the main building first level. There are 3 rooms which can be used for workshops, Dolmabahçe A, B, and C, and Fatih rooms can be used for offices or bilateral negotiations or small groups meetings. And also second level, there's a Marmara room which can be used for the workshop as well. And good foyer near Marmara and also Anadolu Auditorium side foyers, and also Levent rooms for having meetings for up to 24 people. This is the Rumeli building. This is just next to Anadolu building. I mean, they are adjacent, and there's a just small crossing in between, close crossing between. This is the next building, and there are two entrances from this Rumeli building. As I told, it's a combined building. I mean, you can see as a single building indeed, with Anadolu and Rumeli. This is the Rumeli upper level with a theater-style capacity of 3,500 seats. Classroom style 1,750 seats. You can see the Rumeli upper level hall. It can be designed for various events, and it can be divided into 4 parts in main. This is the least developed countries settings in the Rumeli upper level. You can see the classroom style meeting. And also this is the big hall settings without separations in the same Rumeli hall. This is the dining sitting in the same place, upper level. You can see the podium and facilities, technical facilities. This is the foyer where the exhibition and IGF village can be set. It is just adjacent to the main meeting room. I mean, it is in the same foyer. This is the Rumeli lower level. There are 13 breakout rooms. They have the capacity of 50 to 300 seats, with a classroom style 24 to 150 seats. You can see the settings in theater style in the lower level of Rumeli. It can be used for workshop as well. Also the classroom style sitting. Again, it's theater style sitting. This is lavatory. This is Hisar Hall with a theater style capacity of 330 seats, with a classroom style 165 seats. You can see the theater style setting here. And also this is the foyer of Hisar Hall. Again, Hisar Hall for some meeting. This is the Rumeli terrace with the Bosphorus view. It has a capacity of round table style 1,500 people, and cocktail style about 2,000 people. This is the Rumeli terrace for sitting dining, and you can see the Bosphorus view. And also in the night time, you can see the view. When the weather condition is not available, we can use such kind of construction in the Rumeli terrace, inside Rumeli terrace. And also this is the Rumeli building upper level schedule. You can see the approximate, I mean exact dimensions of the Rumeli building upper level. It can be divided into 4 meeting rooms, as you can see. Here is the Rumeli building lower level. It is a big area for exhibition and for meetings also. And you can see the overall capacity chart in here. I mean, you can want to see easily the capacity chart of the ICC capacity. Here is the conference function and facilities for the main buildings. In this slide, you can see style of settings. I mean, for the left side, you can see the name of the rooms, meeting rooms, and on the upper side, you can see the style, theater style, classroom, boardrooms, U-shape, cabaret shape, round table, cocktail style, and then you can see the actual size, feet square and meter square basis. And yellow dotted points are the shows where the sunlight came in. This is the conference and function activities capability of Rumeli building. The same settings, I mean, in the upper row of the table, you can see the style of settings, and then on the left column you can see the room names itself and also the capacity with the dimensions. I mentioned earlier that ICEC is a disability access in the meeting rooms. I'll show some examples. This is the meeting room with the board style, and there's an elevator for disabled and limited mobility. And this is also the same for the meeting room. Regarding the transportation, there are major airline is the Turkish airline, as you may know. There are 250 international destinations which fly from Istanbul. There are other airlines, Pegasus, Atlas, Onur, Sun Express. They also have flights to international destinations. From Atatürk Airport to Taksim or to the venue place, by taxi it takes about 15 euro. You can use shuttle buses from airport. It's called Havataj. It's about 5 euro from the airport to the Taksim Square or to the convention center. And also you can use metro lines from airport to conference venue and hotel region. You can see the transportation is very easy, and many hotels is walking distance to the conference center indeed. Regarding the visa applications, Ministry of Foreign Affairs have a web pages and links I show here with a useful information how to apply for visa and necessary information and guidance on the website. And also e-visa is possible for some conditions. In addition to that, there are 139 Turkish representation around the world. You can check the link whether your country have Turkish representation, where this Turkish representation is. You can see from the given link. And also we plan to provide information for visa assistance for the IGF delegation well in advance from the conference. Regarding the organizational works, ICTA board decision is taken in November 2013 for conducting the overall organization. ICTA established a task force with the relevant people from the relevant departments of ICTA, from purchasing department to technical departments and international relations department, where I am working on. And host country agreement and its annexes negotiated with the UN and expected to be finalized very soon, because we are come to the final point. We are very well advanced in it. Assessment mission and first planning mission have been conducted, and there may be second planning mission after the MAG meeting plan in near future. For the for the host country website, we have registered the domain name as www.igf2014.org.tr. It is reachable from the given link. Indeed, it's very limited information is in the host country website. When you click there, there are touristical information, visa information, and the link to IGF official website. Yeah, you can see just roughly how it looks like. It just, yeah. Tender documentation for organization of IGF will be finalized very soon. We are working on the tender documentation for choosing the organization firm for IGF. And also, we have already prepared tender documentation for IGF logo, and all it is being prepared indeed. For high-level event, preparations for team and scope and the schedule are initiated already. And also, for sure, there will be welcome desk for IGF at the Istanbul Atatürk Airport and Sabiha Gökçen Airport for information of IGF delegations. Thank you very much, and we look forward to welcoming you all in Istanbul. With a nice video, I would like to finalize my presentation. Thank you very much. Just a quick, short promotional video.
Thank you very much for this presentation.
Thank you.
We will share this presentation on the mag list that remains in your files, and you can re-look it. At this moment, it would be appropriate to give opportunity to ask questions to our hosts. Are there any questions in relation to the presentation or organizational aspects from the host country perspective? Please, the floor is open. United States.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Turkey for the detailed and beautiful presentation. I look very much forward to going there for my first time in September. Just perhaps a quick substantive question. I wondered if there was any more information you could share about the planning for the high-level meeting scope, and I know your discussions are just beginning, but I'm wondering if there's anything you can share with us at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Actually, we have now we are planning the 0 day, the ministerial level, and now our studies are still ongoing. And be sure that we're going to make a very good 0 day. The topic is soon going to be determined, and we'll make all the organization for ministerial level. And we want a very high participation, and we're expecting a very high participation for the 0 day, the ministerial level, the high level meeting. Thank you very much.
So thank you. Izumi.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. I might be just wrong to ask this question about the visa issue. There have been several cases in the past that certain countries, folks, our colleagues, couldn't really get a visa at the last, even at the last minute, or some people have to travel to other country because they don't have their embassy or consulate in their own country. I saw your e-visa thing, but it's written that it's only for the tourism and the commerce, but not the business or conferences. If I'm not, I hope I'm wrong. But if you could clarify, having organized that international meeting with 168 countries from ITU planning part, I'm sure you'll have a good, smooth processes, but we'd like to hear some kind of guarantee. Thank you.
So maybe we will take more sort of questions, and then I will ask Dr. Ahmed to answer. Next on the list is Subi.
Thank you so much, Turkey, for an excellent presentation. Having experienced Istanbul, I'm only looking forward to being there in your wonderful city again. Just two quick questions. There's a lot of interest in the high level. So if you could tell us or give us a sense of the number of participants, and is it going to be open just as the Bali instance? And by when could we have some clarity on the topic? And my second question is, I really hope that the organizational committee is also taking local civil society on board. What is the level of interest and participation that you see in deciding agendas and topics and flows? Of course, it's going to come from the MAG and from these discussions, but we hope that we can amplify participation from local civil society as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Henriette.
Thank you, Yanis, and thank you very much for the presentation. Istanbul is, for me, one of the best cities I've ever traveled to, and I've actually been in that venue, and it's a really excellent venue. And I'm not sure if this applies to everyone, but as a South African, we are able to use the online visa on arrival procedure, and it's probably the most efficient visa application procedure I've ever experienced. I'm not sure if we'll be able to use that. The main concern that I wanted to raise is with regard to the bill that President Gül signed into effect, I think yesterday or the day before, that extends internet censorship. And I think it's something that we need to factor and plan for. It's bound to come up as an issue. It's bound to be raised as a concern, and as a MAG, we are very likely to be challenged around the selection of a host country that is just in this time extending internet censorship. So I think we need to anticipate that. I think Subi's point about inclusion of civil society and allowing some of the debate around this inside the event is very important. But I think we should also consider where there are security implications, and I think how we deal with that and how we present ourselves as being aware of this concern could also be very valuable in preventing undue protest or protest that runs out of control. So I just wanted to flag that. I really value that we are hosting the event in Turkey, and I'm not proposing that we look for an alternative host country at all, but I think we should take this into account and anticipate consequences and come up with creative and open ways of dealing with the possible tension and conflict that could arise from that.
So thank you, Annette, for the question and comment. And now I'm turning to UNECA.
Thank you very much for your nice and very explicit presentation. We are looking forward. The issue raised by Izumi is the one I am putting emphasis on, because we know that in past years we have been having problems with visa, even though countries, host country governments will tell us the visa will be ready, will be made available to everyone. We know that in Africa we are having a lot of problems in getting these visas. Please, we really beg the Turkish government to facilitate and make sure that anyone who wants to participate from Africa and elsewhere will have the possibilities to participate without visa problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Makane, for the encouragement. Indeed, this is a recurrent issue, which has been we were confronted in a number of IGFs. So I see Peter is asking for the floor. Question is, are there anybody else who would like to ask a question? If not, then Peter is the last one, and then I will ask Dr. Ahmed to answer. Peter, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the excellent presentation. I was pleased to record that this venue is for disabled people, and you have many facilities for disabled people inside. Now my question is, what about outside? How do you get there? Are there taxis for disabled people? Are there transportation for disabled people? And probably you are aware also the guidelines which have been given to the Secretariat concerning the disabled people and the needs, how they can be satisfied. Thank you.
So thank you, Peter, for question, and now I'm turning to Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, I have taken the notes of all those questions. Now, I'm gonna begin with the visa issue. Actually, Turkey has extended its diplomatic and consular sections to all over the world at the moment, and it has almost 136 consular missions in all over the world. And nowadays, for Africa, especially Africa, for example, Turkey has opened embassies almost in all African countries. So there will not be a problem for visa issues through those consular missions. And for e-visa, and also Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs has implemented e-visa issue. So it has, of course, some conditions that's been set forth in Ministry of Foreign Affairs web page, and we're going to give a link to that web page in our IGF web page of the IGF 14's web page. It has some conditions, but it's an easy way to get a visa through internet if that conditions are satisfied, of course. But for the visa issue, we have consulted with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so much, and they're going to enable all the countries to have easy visas for that conference, and we have already concluded and consulted the issue with Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I think the visa issue will not be a big problem for that conference. Our Ministry of Foreign Affairs is going to show all the elasticity and and will show its all capacity to give the visas in an easy way. The other issue, high-level events, high-level events is going to be, as I told in the first question, will be the first, probably it's going to be the first day as traditional, because in all such big events, high-level events are organized in the first day of those events. So we plan to organize the high-level event in the first day of the conference, and we expect a big participation, a great participation for that event. We're going to send the invitation letters to all ministries and to the head of parliaments, to all countries all over the world. I think there are 163 countries that's registered in UN. And we are going to send 95. 195. Yes, 195 countries. We will send the invitations to all those countries, to all the ministers of all those countries. So we're expecting a high level participation for the day zero. For the topic, at the moment there's an ongoing consultation with NGOs and with the relevant governmental agencies in Turkey, and I think it's soon going to be concluded to determine the topic of the day zero. So it will not be a problem. For NGOs and local participation, in Turkey we have so many NGOs related with internet issues. Of course, we're going to invite all of them to that event, and they will of course participate to that event. So local participation will be no problem. All NGOs and all governmental or non-governmental agencies will have the opportunity to participate this event. For disabled person, yes, the conference venue is a disabled is going to submit a friendly environment for disabled people. But how about the outside, said Peter? And for the outside, now Istanbul municipality has made many implementations for disabled people in the metro, in trains, in the buses, and everywhere. So I think there will be no problem for disabled people in Istanbul. Furthermore, our authority, ICTA, ICT authority in Turkey, has implemented many regulations nowadays, a very good regulation regarding disabled people. Now in Turkey, the GSM operators and fixed line operators have some services for disabled people. At the moment, I do not have that video with me, but we have also a video that regarding the implementations and regulations that we have implemented up to the moment, and all of the operators, GSM operators and fixed line operators, are serving for disabled people, for blind people, or for the other people with Braille alphabet and something else. We have reached a lot of acquisitions on disabled people regarding ICT issues in Turkey. In another room, I think I'm gonna give brief and more information on those issues. And the last question, from South Africa. It's actually in Turkey. There's a freedom of internet, as all democratic countries. Turkey is a democratic country, you know, and we have a freedom of internet and free flow internet. But we have some regulations protecting the children. Of course, for the adult people, we have no restrictions. But to protect the children, we have some profiles and child online protection issues. But child online protection is a hot issue, you know, and through ITU and through European Commission also, there are some discussions are going on regarding child online protection issues, and all the countries are trying to protect the kids from the danger coming from the net. Actually, recently, Neelie Kroes, Vice Chairman of the European Council, made an announcement and called all the sector to join the coalition to submit better internet for kids. And in Turkey at the moment, we have implemented that issue. So there is no problem with the free flow of internet, but as in all other democratic countries, we have some regulations to protect the kids, and that doesn't harm the free flow of internet, of course, for adult people. We only have some regulations to protect the kids. We call it safer internet, and at the moment it has been discussed and negotiated in various fora through ITU, through European Commission, and so on. So there will not be a problem in the conference, during the conference on these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for your responses. I see there is a request from remote participant.
Yes, thank you. This is a question from Adam Peake to you, Mr. Chairman. He would like you to clarify which meeting on February 23rd are you referring to? Do you mean the Net Mundial meeting, which will start on April 23rd in Sao Paulo? Thank you.
So thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam, for your question. I will answer a bit later. I will now give the floor to Henriette.
Thank you, Chair. I think, just with all due respect, and I don't want to initiate a debate, but I also think it would be to not acknowledge that this new legislation does not relate specifically to child online protection. It gives the TIB the authority, the Turkish regulator, the authority to censor websites without a court order. And it also compels service providers to store data for an extended period and make that data available again without due process. So I don't want to debate the issue. I really, really don't. I just do think we need to be aware that this new bill is already the subject of protest and debate within Turkey and globally. And so it would be naive of the organizers of the IGF, both ourselves as the MAG and yourself as the host institution, to not anticipate that this will be a topic of contention that we need to address.
Thank you, Annette, for your question. What I would like to maybe add, what Dr. Ahmed said, the IGF meetings have been conducted and will be conducted according to United Nations rules. Hence, no taboos on substantive issues, and the discussions will be organized according to UN rules and regulations, within the limit of full respect to all participants and all countries. And so as a result, there no doubt will be discussions about human rights, about freedom of internet and free flow of information, in all countries of the world, including in the host country. So I think from that point of view, you need to be reassured that there will not be any limitations in the right to express opinions in a respectful way. Now, answering question of Adam, I would like to say that I was mistakenly saying that this was a meeting. It is a meeting, but is a telephone meeting, which is scheduled on February 24th. No, sorry. It is a meeting which will take place in Barcelona on the margins of GMSA conference. And this is a high-level multi-stakeholder committee of Net Mundial is organizing meeting between high-level MC member countries, the representatives of appointed United Nations Secretary General, and non-governmental HLM&C members. So that is in response to Adam's question. Thank you for helping me out. Izumi, and then I think we can move on, please.
Thank you again, and thank you for the assurance of the visa issues. I also would like to take note that the Turkish Airlines are saying that they are flying more countries than any other airlines of the world. So you have a very good outreach to the all corners of the world, in addition to your embassy and consulars. I just want to perhaps make one additional request, if that applies. So far, some of the host generous country governments have exempted the visa fees. Sometimes after we pay that, in the case of Indonesia, those who notice that get back the payment reimbursed. Those who didn't couldn't get it, but I see that some of the e-visa applications, they have to pay $15 or 10 euros on the website. So I don't know if it's pragmatically workable inside your government, but if by all means, if you could do that, that would be very much appreciated. And I also would like to echo with what Henrietta said. I came to Geneva, but before coming to Geneva, I was in Istanbul, enjoying your food and all the gorgeous culture, and had some conversation with my friends, and they are quite concerned about the new bill, which is not only, say, necessarily Turkey. In my country, we have a bit similar situation, but in any case, I was assured by the chairman that there's no taboo, at least for the IGF, to discuss any issue about mutual concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Itsumi. Actually, we are going to make all the necessary issues to implement an easy visa regime for the conference. But for the fee issue, at the moment I cannot answer that question because I have to consult with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But I have taken the note, and I'm gonna consult the issue with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And by the way, also thank you very much for your compliments for Turkish Airlines and Istanbul. Thank you very much.
Cengeta is advising me that in the framework agreement between United Nations and host country, it is suggested that the visa fee is waived for all participants of the conference, provided that they are taking a conference visa. So you mentioned exchange rate. I would like to have that exchange rate, 10 euros or $50. That should be, most probably you were mistaken. So I think that we had a very good discussion, and I want to thank once again our hosts for this presentation. Do we have another remote question or comment? Do we have another remote question or comment? Okay. Let us move on then to the our next agenda item, and that is maybe initially brief reports from the breakout informal groups that we established last night and who met this morning for first sort of consultations. May I call on coordinators Who would like to start? Lee, please. That was the working group on themes, sub-themes. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to pass over very quickly to Constance and Subi to give the short report. But just to say, to frame the discussion this morning, we were about 20 people and had a very active discussion on the 49 bullets under paragraph 28 of the synthesis paper. The timing was a very short time, so we would also like to have some time, not during the lunch break because many meetings are happening, half an hour to sort of synthesize further all of that information, because it was very short timing for us. But it was a very constructive discussion. We have narrowed it down somewhat, and thanks to Izumi for the reporting, and thanks to Constance and to Subi to report now. Thank you.
So Constance, since your name was mentioned first, I'm calling on you.
Thank you, Chair. So Subi will start with a brief overview of the main themes we have identified, and then I'll say a few words about sub-themes, more narrow themes that could allow us to organize best practice forums.
Thank you, Subi.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Lee and Matthew, for running an excellent meeting. We worked through all the 49 suggestions that we'd received on themes and topics. Just a brief readout. So there are roughly about 6 broad suggestions for mains, and we tried working at collapsing and encapsulating most of these suggestions. So the first suggestion for a main is access and local public policy. We saw great relevance in linking relevant local public policy to the questions of access, broadband, and diversity. Matthew gave us an excellent suggestions that reworked it to local policies that enable access, and this would cover affordability, access of technologies for internet governance, and how we can influence local service providers, as well as explore legal and regulatory frameworks and contribute to any cost sphere that privileges access. There was also a suggestion from the chair. Lee suggested that this would also work really well for a high-level preliminary along with a basic document on best practices paper, but I'd leave Constance to elaborate more on that. This would also link up really well with the regional and national IGF. The second suggestion for a main theme was a content development and management open preliminary main, which would also focus on human capacity building and lends it well to the track that Vlada and some of the others have been leading from Diplo and other similar organizations. So local content creation, distribution, management, hosting, multilingualism, questions of diversity. The third main one was internet as an engine for growth. This would facilitate the creation of a high competitive service sector that would fuel innovation, permissionless innovation, entrepreneurship, and could also lend itself to an innovative format like a debate or a discussion where we could have success stories from local innovators, entrepreneurs who've used the internet. Also ICT deployment by women in applications that are connecting more constituencies, and best practices for shareholders, stakeholders, the ICT industry, and innovation and free flow of information online. We also explored the same for, there's an excellent suggestion again from the floor by Marilyn Cade, who suggested that we should explore building blocks of the internet, and they could lend themselves to good workshops on connectivity, interconnection, and peering, electricity and its challenges to developing countries, and how that can enable efficient and effective service in internet governance. Also equipments and standards and internet exchange points, and how they can talk with each other better. The fourth main is examining overall internet governance landscape ecosystem, and this relates really well to the concerns that we hope to address this year. IGF way forward, how is it that the IGF can give us best practices for internet governance, budgeting, amplifying more regional and national initiatives, managing changes in the internet governance landscape, and finding new ways for developing countries, civil society, marginalized groups to participate better in the IG discussion. Internet governance for openness and also strengthening multi-stakeholderism. There was a strong suggestion from the floor also to look at evaluation or an impact document that looks at 10 years of the IGF and 9 meetings. What is it that we're looking at post-2015? A sustainable idea of an internet. The fourth main is a concept on deepening multi-stakeholderism, and how is it that the IGF has been instrumental in taking this forward? How do we operationalize principles of multi-stakeholderism? There was also a strong suggestion to create this as a separate track so that proposals could be invited, and this could be one of the main sub-themes as well. When we're looking at consideration for subs. There was a suggestion on emerging issues, looking at replicating and taking the success of the last IGF forward. Surveillance, online privacy, cybersecurity, both in the domestic as well as the national context, freedom of speech and expression, human rights. So this could be a key plenary or main that could look at a debate, positing a provocative proposition, and then we could invite comments and participation instead of talking heads or a constructed panel. There was considerable discussion on both the main themes as well as the format that each of these would lend itself better. There were excellent inputs from the table, and there was a second suggestion on emerging issues. How do we explore promotion of social and cultural interaction, integration in society through the use of ICT and the role that governments can play, ICT for societal development and diffusion of innovation, research, development and innovation, again, best practices. There was a third suggestion which calls for enhancing digital trust. So cybersecurity, personal data protection in case of ISPs, state security agencies and international cooperation. How do we protect human rights in an era of big data, ethics, law and technology? We thought that was an interesting proposition. Services for empowerment of displaced people. How do we empower displaced people through online education? And how is it that we can work towards the lowest price for internet access in developing countries? Some of the other interesting suggestions, but we thought they would lend themselves better to workshops instead of mains, were fostering a healthy and stable, resilient internet, a workshop on net neutrality, some suggestions from the synthesis paper, and we were happy to take all the inputs from the synthesis paper. So these discussions came out of either positing these topics and suggestions better or rephrasing them into more workable general topics. So what must be the agenda for the cyberspace 2015 or an internet ecosphere post 2015? Also sustainable best practices. What is it that the IGF gives to the world? The last bit was a suggestion that came from the synthesis paper that looked at identifying gaps between implementation and knowledge, the evolution of IG principles and a possible roadmap that the IGF can look at. We also noted that there were no suggestions on either specific topics of spam or rights of children or cybersecurity. These were the gaps that we found missing. I would invite Constance now to speak more about the Best Practices Forum and how it can integrate the discussions of the IGF better. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Subi. Very quickly, within these main themes that Subi just described, it seemed useful, in line with the discussion we had yesterday about best practices and the need to give participants some sort of tangible outcomes, outputs of the global IGF. We identified within these different main themes, sub-themes that could be good themes for best practice forums. So we identified at this stage at least 3. And I think we'll have to continue the discussion to narrow down specific topics for each of these main sessions. But for the main session on access, for instance, there could be a best practice forum on IXPs. For the main session on Internet Governance Framework, the future of the IGF, the broader Internet governance landscape, there could be a best practice forum on Internet governance principles. One possible idea, in addition, regarding the main theme on building digital trust, would be, I think, to have a best practice forum specifically on spam, since it seems to be an important topic that's mature enough to lend itself to that exercise. In terms of structure, we were thinking that these best practice forums could feed into a main session on best practice forums, and each chair of each forum would have the responsibility of synthesizing into maybe a one-pager what could be reported back to that specific main session. Thank you.
So thank you. I see ICANN is asking for the floor. Chris?
Thank you, Yanis. Just a question for clarification. I may be slightly confused or misunderstood, but Subi's presentation of I'm unclear what the suggested themes are. I heard a lot of suggestions of very detailed possible sort of things were under themes, but I'm unclear what the themes. I thought themes were meant to be sort of like a single word or a couple of words. So I wonder if we could just get clear what the suggested themes are.
Thank you, Chris, for question. Matthew?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to extend my thanks to the group that met this morning. Just to echo what Lee said, we have put in considerable work into trying to group and cluster the thematic areas and the issue areas that are also in the synthesis paper, but there's still more work to do to focus, and I think that will get to addressing some of Chris's question. Thanks.
Thank you, Virat.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say what has just been stated. We ran through this very long list in a very short period of time, and we've put these under broad heads, and I think in the half hour that we seek, because this is work that many people have done, we want to be respectful of the inputs and not just convert this into our thoughts, and therefore we will need the half hour at some stage to try and build this into crisp, short themes as has been requested from the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. ICC basis.
Thank you, Chair, and to clarify that I'm speaking now as observer for Cisco. I'd like to thank excellent work this morning trying to consolidate this long list of items, and I'd like to thank Constance for summarizing the best practices that were proposed. One thing that is missing that we did not get to discuss this morning was what best practices actually are and how they would be developed and what they mean. So I think maybe on the item here to work on for the MAG is to actually get more clarity as to what is meant by best practices. Thank you.
So thank you. Michael?
Thank you very much. I want to commend the working group for doing a great deal of work pulling pieces together and weaving things into a coherent framework. I just wanted to make 3 quick points. As a futurist and somebody who spends most of my time living in the year 2020, I was a little bit concerned that we didn't hear much about emerging technologies, and this is a problem I've seen at previous IGFs as well. One of the things that many of the attendees really are eager to hear is about what's coming next, and so I would ask that maybe we think about emerging issues and emerging technologies. Another issue that I didn't hear mentioned and did not see in the synthesis paper was identity, not identity theft, but identity technologies, and this is one of the things that is obviously of concern. It fits very well with the spam issue where people are sending emails pretending to be somebody they aren't. And then the last issue, given all the discussion we had yesterday about how the IGF can weave into the rest of the discussion on internet governance, I think we can do more to reflect in our themes that we're really going to talk about how to maximize the impact of the IGF, not just in other international discussions, but also at the national policy-making level and in business decisions. What goes on at IGF is very important, and there's a lot of great ideas and little germs of consensus that could grow into something very important. And I really think this idea of maximizing the impact of what we're doing here and in Istanbul and in Mexico and in Brazil is very important.
Coming from Anki.
Thank you. I think those were very useful comments. But when the group considered and examined the themes, we were reacting to a document which was there. That it was not an opportunity to include or generate new material. But now we have some time. I think that half an hour which Virat talked about, where we could include these additional ideas and then have a discussion. But I just wanted to clarify that it was not an opportunity to sort of introduce new elements there. We were just sort of reacting to a set of themes which were sort of circulated in this document. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think that maybe Subi, I will not give you a floor at this moment. I would be willing to provide that half an hour of our meeting time with the one condition. And that condition would be that you would come up with a very clearly structured proposal. Main theme in 1 word, 2 words, certainly not more than 4 words in a line. And then maybe either sub-themes or issues that could be addressed in that one broader theme. Okay? And associated forums, as you suggested, to each of the themes or some of the themes. So if that would be expected outcome from my side, which then we could discuss, we could display it on the screen, and we could discuss it at the beginning of the afternoon session. So, are we in agreement? Good. So then we will break at 12:30 today. You will have your half an hour here in this room, and you will be able to continue your work. So now I'm turning to Susan. Fiona will be reporting. Fiona, please.
Yes, thank you, Giannis. So after the group's discussion this morning, Susan and I took a document that the group had started with and made a few edits to capture the consensus that was appearing in the room. So I went ahead and circulated that document to the MAG list this morning. So I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to take a look at it, but just a few things to highlight. There were several things that have come up in the exercise last year and the conversations over the online discussions and this morning. There were a couple things we wanted to specifically address, which was to make sure that there were opportunities for MAG members to go back and work with people that were submitting proposals that needed to be revised or give them a second or third chance. So this proposal has 2 opportunities for MAG members to specifically deal with that. It also proposes that there be limits on proposals from institutions, individuals, and MAG members. There needs to be discussion in the group here if we're going to go down that path, what those limits are and what the numbers need to be. In terms of the actual criteria, what we've proposed is a scoring system of 1 to 5 for the proposal, with the factors for MAG members to consider when they're giving the scoring. And then also to deal with the criticism that potentially there was favoritism in reviewing proposals. We're suggesting that when the MAG members review proposals, the proposers' names be not displayed. So maybe they'd be numbered and anonymized to us. And then the last new proposal deals with the idea of an appeals mechanism. And this got introduced to the last part of our conversation as something that the group here needs to decide if it wants to do. And then we would need to figure out where it would fit into the process. But the document describes this in some detail, and it's a 3-stage review process where the Secretariat does an initial screening of proposals based on criteria that's been established. Then MAG members actually evaluate the proposals, and then there's a discussion in the 3rd stage to make sure that we have a representation of proposals across the themes. But you guys, you have the document to take a look at.
So thank you. Are there any immediate reaction to the proposal? Please.
It's clear that we have a problem with the email list because we did not receive this and other things as well. So if possible, could someone update the mailing list, please?
So thank you, Hassan, for this remark. May I ask MAG members who haven't received Fiona's email, which was sent out at 10:19? So would it be possible to bring Chengeta? Could you collect the cards or
No, it's 3 names.
You got it. Okay, we got the names. You will be put on the email list immediately, and Chengeta, if you could forward also the Fiona's email to all three. So, are there any immediate reactions and then questions to suggested technology? Oh, sorry, methodology. Please, Vlada.
I'm just thinking it would be wise also to focus a little bit on step before that, which is the application process, or what we require from the applicants to be sure that they can meet what we are going to evaluate later on. And there was a previous work by Merli and the others on that. So I think we should also try to have it in mind, whether now or in the group, this first step to make sure that the applications that come are really good and well done. Thanks.
Thank you. Our friends from Moscow.
Thank you, Chair. Our delegation supposes that it should be a kind of a transparent process of selection of the workshops, and we hope that all criteria would be clear and they would be stated. How and in what way these workshop proposals would be evaluated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please rest assured that criteria will be published and the evaluation will be done following that criteria. So any other reaction to the methodology proposal? Henriette, please.
Thank you very much, Yanis. It was an excellent group, so thanks to the conveners and everyone who participated. And I think we made a few quite fundamental steps in increasing the transparency and the fairness of the process. But you'll have to read through the document. I think, as Vlada just pointed out, there are other steps, such as looking at the application form, looking at how we announce and put out the invitation for sessions, because we're making the recommendations that we don't invite people to apply for workshops, we invite them to apply for a session, and then they can select what type of event they want. So what I'd like to propose is that we have a voluntary working group of MAG members who work with the Secretariat, because at this point we really need to work with the Secretariat in implementing these changes. So I'm not sure if that group can meet face to face here, but it would be good if they can volunteer and then set up a process, I think quite soon, possibly an online meeting with the Secretariat next week or the week after, just to address all the related details, not just the principles and the steps.
So thank you. Subi.
Thank you, Anis. Subi, India. Just two suggestions on the second stage of the evaluation process. I see scoring, which has identified speakers and their confirmations. We've learned from previous experience that speakers at this stage, their identification and confirmation is subject to change. And we're using this criteria to vote out certain proposals. I also find the fact that Vlada indicated a capacity building measure to facilitate more new participants missing unless we have an institutionalized process or a group of MAG members as volunteers maybe to mentor these proposals, filtering them in the second stage on the basis of confirmed speakers and panelists. It, to my mind, is a difficult task. On the third stage, the idea of consultation, according to the themes, the 6 or 5 sub-themes that we select, if we can have breakout groups that can mentor, because we're looking at reviewing our decisions, that might help facilitate this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ivan?
I'm not sure I heard, there was a proposal yesterday that a few people mentioned that we should have time limits or at least time proposals within the proposals. If they need an hour or 2 hours or half an hour or whatever it is. And then if we could also go that step forward, that once we decide on what the workshops are, that one of the steps and one of the things that they will be given the workshop proposals is a time limit, so that we can work to, because there are two things that we need to think about. There's space constraints and time constraints, and those are two things that we can also play with in how we create the workshop. So I just propose that we put that, so that the proposals have that within their proposals, but we also have that as a second evaluation later on, and we decide how much time we allot them.
Thank you for this suggestion and question. Let me just maybe explain you, and this is pure technology of United Nations meetings. We have so-called interpretation slots, which is 3 hours, and we need to pay for 3 hours whether we use them or not. Hence, because of the limited resources at our disposal, we always are bound to this 3-hour time cluster. We may split 3 hours in 2. We may split 3 hours in 3 parts. But experience shows that it is very dangerous to make breaks between those parts. We need to ensure that there is a sort of continuity of sessions if sessions are less than 3 hours, because once you break you cannot convene, let's say next 30 minutes for sure. Sometimes it's even longer. So therefore, whatever we're planning, we always need to keep in mind this 3-hour sort of limitation that we have. Please.
I think that we can still work on within that. Just make that very important that people stick to the timeline. I understand that that's difficult at UN meetings, but at the same time, if that is stressed enough, I don't think that we should try to fit something within just so it fits within a 3-hour. If something can fit, 2 meetings can fit into that 3-hour segment, I don't think we should shy away from that.
Yeah, this was exactly my point, that we need always to keep that in mind when we do our planning. Virat?
Chairman, I want to thank the group for this outstanding work in simplifying it as they have. There have been some comments posted by William Drake. I'm not sure if he's in the room. It would help if you can explain what he's suggesting, because all of us were not there in the last meeting, and so if there are some issues, either the group or he could explain what that is and how we need to take care of that, because he's somebody who's been there for a while. I just wanted to make a couple of quick comments. One on the considerations for evaluation, the word well written. I just want to be careful how we score this, given the fact that English may not be the first language for vast majority of those who hope to get their proposals through. So I hope it's not going to judge them on that. So we need to be clear about that, because when that room gets into a hectic activity, then this gets defined there and then. And the second, I think it might help for the MAC to discuss whether, if we have about 70 odd sessions, workshops, as we had last time, I think about 70, and then about 10 open forums, whether it would make sense to find a way to qualify 20 at least, or 21, say 30%, between developing countries and gender geographic responsibility, in which case, even if the score slightly low, we need to at least give space for 20, 21 out of 70. So we could arrive at a number, but find a way to facilitate those, and that would be genuine mentorship over and above sessions and the discussion that we're having, to bring these up to speed at the level and time after they have been submitted, rather than score on them, they become disqualified, and then there is no way to actually mentor the existing pieces. So those are my suggestions, if we could consider those. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a copy of the work of the other working group, but I'd like to reiterate a point I made yesterday, and I don't know if this has been incorporated into the work of this morning. I'm not sure it's a criteria, perhaps it is, but I would really urge that we require that the workshops address a specific challenge or issue, that we be solutions oriented. I think that would assist immensely in terms of ensuring the relevance of the discussion and the focus of the workshops as well. Thank you.
So thank you. Fiona is taking all notes and she will answer afterwards. Susan, you were asking for the floor?
Hi, yes. I was just going to respond to our colleague's comment about time limits. And while this is slightly, this is not addressing directly the 3-hour that discussion, but actually I think it's important that before the workshop evaluation process happens, and the group discussed this morning, is that the number of workshops or sessions, and these should be defined, or the number of fora, if they're open forum or best practices, all of those be determined with their times in advance of the evaluation process, because that would really be able to facilitate the process.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you, Yanis. I just wanted to make a couple of comments, having been in the session, about the actual evaluation process here, and it's probably worth sharing this with the MAG for information. This is both my own personal view, and I think it's where we came to in the discussion about the evaluation process. That is that we, in evaluating proposals, the MAG will have quite a few considerations to look at. We've got diversity criteria. We've got issues of whether proposals are well written and cogent, coherent. We've got other considerations which have been mentioned here, quite a few of them. New issues, new technologies, newcomers. What is quite, I think, a non-trivial exercise is to balance all of these different criteria when you actually have a particular proposal in front of you. And in order to do that, there are a couple of different approaches, and one is to try and use a scoring system which is multi-dimensional, where a MAG member is asked to give their view in terms of a score on each of what could be many criteria. And that's one approach. Another is to, which personally I support, is to rely on the judgment of the MAG member to consider all of the criteria that are agreed to be relevant. These are criteria which should be public. They're criteria which should be expressed in and should be available to people who are making proposals for sessions, which state that in evaluating sessions, the MAG will be looking at the following features, the following criteria, and so we should be able to understand and to bear those criteria in mind, but simply to make our own our own judgment on the balance of those criteria, and probably just provide each of the proposals that we're evaluating, provide the proposal with a rating, which is our judgment of our own subjective view of the quality of a proposal, considering all of those criteria. And so I'm not sure that we had a final view on that. There was certainly some support for the idea that MAG members are here to make that kind of judgment, and that's what we would do. And it doesn't represent any lack of transparency to rely on MAG judgment. It's just simply a question of how we feel is the best, most straightforward way to carry out our responsibility. So I just thought I'd share that view and that particular issue with the MAG here, because I think it's one of the questions that has been raised before, I think, numerous times in looking at how this evaluation process is carried out. Thanks.
So thank you, Paul. I fully agree that at the end of the day that will be a balancing act, and we will need to apply our collective wisdom to make sure that all the necessary components are represented at the meeting. So it's not easy. It's sometimes painful, but this is what we need to do. Izumi.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just going to address almost the same issue as Paul just mentioned. I don't know how exactly we can do that, but we need to put more overall considerations after the individual evaluation processes. Am I right? That means sometimes, even though these proposals seemingly not quite high in the first place because the proposals are new or don't have the balance required, but that also combine the question is that there's a certain suggestion that the MAG members will help coach these new proposals. It's interesting that if, say, I'm involved in coaching certain proposals and then later to go to evaluate, then it might be a bit challenging to be accountable. The same goes true for those who are really proposers, but even you are coaching, but you cannot avoid that. So I don't know any answer to that, but there's some challenge ahead. I see that. Thank you.
Yeah, what you just described, in other words, called conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest. I will now call on Vlada, and that will be the last intervention before Fiona tries to address those questions which have been raised. Vlada.
Thank you, Ernest. Interesting challenge, Izumi. Really, never thought about it. Firstly, I forgot to really congratulate to the group. It was now I went to the document. It's really good summary and very well done. Couple of points. Firstly, on criteria, evaluation criteria, I stand again very strongly against requiring and evaluating the list of speakers, as Subi said, because I think our experience is really bad about it. We don't know who will be at the IGF, and more than that, principally, we want to encourage interactive discussion. So the point of the workshops and sessions should not be speakers. It should be interactivity. That's the first thing. The second thing is we might try to evaluate and also encourage in the application form the innovative formats. That's what we search for. So we should maybe also take into consideration while evaluating whether some new session have a innovative format of a session. Thirdly, the time limits that my colleague mentioned, bearing in mind the three hour slots, of course, might sometimes work also because different formats of sessions might not allow the translation. simply group work or these kind of things, roundtables, sometimes cannot stand the translation interpretation, and we don't need that. For shorter sessions, flash sessions, unfortunately, it's not always possible to have it, so we should also take this opportunity to maybe introduce different time slots, half an hour, hour and a half, and so on. Now the second point is on a MAG role, and I think this coaching part is very important. Now bearing in mind Izumi's very good point, how I see MAG's role possibly. Firstly, it's facilitation during the application process, so the newcomers might have some kind of assistance from volunteer MAG members to help them how to form the proposal and not to make mistakes, at least in this formal way, so not to be denied in the first round by the Secretariat because they are incomplete or whatever. Secondly, improving some proposals that are discarded after the first IGF Secretariat round, as I've seen in the proposal, which is good. Thirdly, improving the proposals after the final evaluation, because we might have some proposals which are denied only because they could have been merged with some similar ones. They're not fully enough, well enough done. So in the last stage, we might also help providing provisional workshops if you manage to merge and organize with these among a couple of groups. We may also allow the session. And thirdly, we can also suggest for those sessions that are not approved, evaluated, or do not go through the threshold, we can suggest a change in the format, a change in the time slot, or even a change in the track. As I mentioned, some of the sessions will easily fit, be very beneficial for the capacity building track instead of common sessions, discussion sessions, or for a regional track, and so on. So we just classify them differently if they can fit in a different context. Thank you.
Thank you. On the question of the coaching, I think it's very appropriate and could be helpful in order to improve the quality of preparation for the sessions, for different type of sessions. I think that the first and foremost we need to ensure that kind of guidelines are given to all those who want to prepare these proposals. And I was told that last year there were guidelines available, and I see no reason why we should not propose that slightly modified guidelines, taking into account, let's say, modifications that we are planning to introduce would be again published, and the applicants would be encouraged to follow those guidelines in preparing their applications. I will now call on Fiona maybe to answer those questions and comment on remarks which have been made so far.
Thank you, Yanis. I think maybe perhaps to respond to a couple of questions, then maybe propose a couple of different ways forward. I think it's important to keep in mind that on the first page of this, I should have highlighted it in yellow, but one of the things that has to be determined is how many slots we have for workshops or sessions. And that wasn't a decision of this particular subgroup. It needs to come back to the space availability. And to keep in mind, the criteria or the ranking system is really to sort of rank order of workshops based on availability. It's not to say people are good or bad. We're constrained by space. So the purpose of this is really to deal with some of that spacing issues. On the considerations for evaluation, I think we can make some modifications on the speakers and use the phrase likely speakers, but we do need to understand early on if we're seeing the same speaker pop up repeatedly on panels, which I think has been a problem in the past as well, or workshops. So we can make some modifications there. Also, these considerations for evaluation, we're not scoring each particular criteria item. You're giving an overall score between 1 and 5, and these are things to keep in mind as you're doing that score. So if Matthew could send his additional thing to put in, we can do that. But if others have things they'd like to see in the template, which is to help people that are evaluating do that, they should send those in and we can include them. And then I think the last, or second to last thing is to figure out, and as a group, what would be the limitation on numbers that we would want to set for institutions, individuals, or MAG members. Everyone's commented on the need to do that, but no one's actually proposed a particular number. And then the last issue, I think, which has been raised by Izumi and others, is perhaps maybe what we do is divide the MAG into 3 groups: those that are willing to coach, those that will be evaluators, and those that will be the appeals process do the third stage, and maybe that's something we could talk about. But I don't know how else to deal with this particular conflict issue if we don't actually discreetly divide people. But I'd throw that open to the group for further discussion.
So thank you, Fiona, for your comments. I think there will be, after 25 minutes, we will have additional half an hour also for your group to convene and maybe to continue discussing those things that have been raised here, and then fine-tune the proposal. I expect that after this half an hour, something around 1:30ish, both groups will be in a position to send out a document to the mailing list that other MAG members can read it before we convene the session at 3 o'clock. And then at 3 o'clock we will continue discussing, hoping to arrive at the rough consensus on both issues, themes and evaluation methodology. And now, as I promised yesterday, I will add to confusion by showing a preliminary timetable of our work, but I see that there is a remote comment. Please.
Yes, thank you. Bill Drake would like to share with the group the following comment. It seems that some members are now converging around the idea of a multi-stage vetting process. I'd just like to recall for those who weren't on MAG last year that our experiment with that did not go well at all and was enormously labor-intensive. Many of us who were here last year swore never again, leaving aside the pressures it put on MAG members to do two separate review processes in a very tight time frame, which is even tighter this year. The first, purportedly light vetting, seemed to yield a lot more community dissatisfaction than the second, more systematic and fair review of full proposals. We had hundreds of initial applications and many were rejected based on just a couple of sentences of loose description. People rushed together to meet the deadline with no listing of panelists, etc. So the MAG could get a real feel for what the session might look like.
So thank you, Bill, for your comments. Michael?
Bill also posted that to the MAG list, and I replied because we had talked about this in our session this morning, and I'll just read the paragraph I wrote in response, which is, Bill, I think we developed some excellent ways to avoid the problems that we saw last year. The first screen that we proposed was just to catch obviously inappropriate proposals like companies trying to pitch a product. And at that point, any single MAG member could object and say that a proposal shouldn't have been rejected. This is really just to get the 5 or 10% of the proposals that don't belong. And also would allow people a chance, if their proposal was rejected for some technicality, they could come back and perhaps propose a different type of session or something if that was the problem. The second screen that we talked about is the important one. That's what we're talking about today. We did think there was a need for some kind of chance for the people who almost made it to come back and get some feedback from the MAG and perhaps reapply. We would do that only for a handful of proposals and only where there was a clear opportunity to fill a need in the agenda. I don't think there's an inherent problem of doing a two-stage review. I think there's a better way to design it.
Thank you, Mike, for this input. So now on the screen you see very preliminary and rough calculation of the time we need to prepare the meeting, and indeed I put only maybe the main target dates. If we reach agreement, rough agreement today on themes, sub-themes and items in each of those teams, sub-teams. And if we reach today rough agreement on evaluation criteria and the methodology, which needs to be posted together with invitation or call for proposals, so then we could post the call for proposals end of next week, which is 28th of February. Fully formulated, agreed by MAG members, and also if there are any other specific approval process. Does it exist or not?
We just have to have the agreement.
Okay, so agreed by MAG members. Then the courtesy would call for at least 30/45 days for potential session organizers to formulate their proposals. So that would lead us to mid-April, and 14th of April is Monday. If there would be two-stage sort of proposal making, as it was the case last year, then the first deadline would be something in 15th of March, just indication or expression of interest, and then full proposal 14th of April. But since I haven't heard so far that there should be two-stage proposal, that we could go just for one full-fledged proposal, so then the deadline would be 14th of April. That would leave to the MAG 1 month and few days to do necessary preparation and go through evaluation procedure, and proposal is to meet for 3 days in May, the week of 19th of May, to do final evaluation and decision making on the sessions. Why this week? Because the week before there are two events: CSTD meeting, annual meeting where a number of MAG members might be involved, and on top also ITU Council. A meeting is taking place in the week of 12th of May. So therefore, first 3 days of week of 19th of May seemed to me the most appropriate proposal. That said, we of course are dependent on the room availability, and I was told that there are no rooms available in Palais des Nations. We need to look to other opportunities in other agencies which are situated here in Geneva, either ITU, either WHO, either ILO, and we will be able to provide information on room availability as soon as possible. But if there won't be any specific reaction or violent objection to those proposed dates, so then we would pencil that in the calendar. So after that we would continue fine-tuning the agenda of the meeting and schedule of the meeting, aiming at publication, final publication on 30th of June, which would then give us 2 months time prior the meeting, full knowledge of the meeting schedule. So that of course is in theory on the paper, and now I would like to seek comments on the proposal. Fiona.
Yes, thank you, Jonas. No problem with the dates proposed, but just a question on the meeting in May and given the room availability. Does the meeting have to be in Geneva, or is there a possibility of it being somewhere else, or are we bound to meet here given space constraints?
Vaher?
Thank you, Chairman. It doesn't appear on the screen, but I thought you said that if we are to go with a two-stage process on the proposal application, then the first deadline would be mid-March, which I think is very difficult, especially for new applicants to meet. If we want to encourage, new people to submit proposals, 15 days is definitely prohibitive. So I would think we have to reconsider that. Thanks.
I was just mentioning that because last year there were two-stage proposal submission, first expression of interest, and then final application. Until now, I haven't heard any comments whether we would go for two-stage or not. Taking into account that we have very limited time, maybe it would be useful go for one stage, just a proposal by certain deadline. So that is on the table. Now I see many flags up, and I will take one by one. Mr. Chen, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Janice. As to the program or the schedule, I have two comments. First is about the deadline for calling for workshop proposals. Last year we have two-stage setup, but it seems that the first stage is a little bit longer, because for the first stage, it's the proposal. The party only needs to develop some general idea, and then they will have another more than 1 month time to develop and elaborate that. So I think maybe the first stage can be shorter, just to propose forward the idea, then we get the sense about the numbers, the total number, that's all. And then the proposer would have time to elaborate. As soon as the elaborated or complete proposal arrived, I think members can start to work on it. Of course, before that, we need to, to divide the members into groups, and we find leaders for different themes, for different categories. Last year, the bad experience is in May we have very short time, and a lot of evaluation work have not been done. So all the evaluation work has been carried out after May meeting. So that make the task very heavy for members. So I hope that everything can come a little bit earlier. So maybe in May we can have the meeting, the second meeting of the of MAG. So then leave a longer time span for the finalization stage. This is my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Remote participant.
Yes, thank you. This is a comment from Bill Drake. It's a response to a comment made prior to the conversation about timeframes. And Bill thinks it would be an enormous mistake not to give full consideration and weight to the actual list of speakers proposed, and this is one way to really know what a workshop might look like in terms of diversity balances and character of the dialogue. The fact that we want interactivity in with the audience in no way reduces the importance of being able to ascertain whether a proposer really has confirmed a solid and appropriate group of speakers. Many applicants send long lists of names of impressive sounding people that they have not contacted and will not even be at the meeting in the hope that this gets their workshop approved. This is inappropriate. Speakers should be confirmed and listed correctly. Sorry, this is a bit delayed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas.
Thank you, Yanis. Two questions. Well, one question and one comment. I would like to second Fiona's point about does the meeting have to be in Geneva, especially if there are many others events around the same week. I just want to have an idea about this. And two, does this schedule takes into account the possible idea of appeal panel that was discussed this morning? Because that would also put some pressure on the whole timing.
Answer to the second question is no, because I was not aware of idea of appeal panel. It is purely sort of theoretical calculation backwards from the September 2. On the first question, I would be very happy to see all of you in Riga, but I'm not sure whether the rules and regulations would allow me such a proposal. But I will. That's why I'm not answering to this question, hoping that Chengetai will put some thoughts together and will comment on that. We have Henriette.
Just a quick one. I think I value the comments made about the time frame by Mr. Chen and others, and I think it is excellent that our new workshop process is not having the two-stage, because I think the two-stage expression of interest followed by proposal. But I just want to comment primarily on the Geneva issue. Like Fiona, I also have to travel far, but I think we need to recognize that the co-location of the MAG meeting with the CSTD meeting and also the meetings at the ITU, the Information Society Week WSIS Forum meetings, is very strategic for the IGF. It's an important opportunity for us to interact with the UN system. Actually, Human Rights Council is also sitting at that time. Excuse me. And I think for those of us that try and participate and promote the IGF in those spaces, it's a good opportunity, even if it does involve travel. And I think particularly relevant this year because of the review process. Because if CSTD is going to make in its resolution to ECOSOC any reference to the renewal of the IGF, it would be valuable for those of us involved in the MAG to participate in the CSTD session this year.
Thank you. Susan?
Thank you, Chair. Just a few points. With regards to the two-stage process, what we had proposed was not first an expression of interest and then an application, but simply an application. The applications, they would be received by the screen I'm looking at on April 14th, a first stage of evaluation just on objectively, on very objective criteria would occur within that week. And then the second stage where MEG members do engage in that second stage evaluation process that would occur in April and May, but decidedly before May in time to produce a synthesis paper so that when we arrive at the MEG meeting we could enter stage 3 and have that discussion about the overall balance of the program and adjust for the program accordingly. So I just wanted to offer that point.
Thank you. Vlada?
Thank you. Just a bit of a clarification on the two-stage process. When we started this idea last year, we basically wanted to copy or to use the very good experience of Eurodig, which has as a first stage the interest on topics, not on sessions, and then following the summary of most favorable topics, the interest or the application for sessions. We did it clumsy last year. We didn't do it exactly. This year we did it. So we already had the first phase, which was summarized by the Secretariat well. So we have the topics, we had the interest of topics. Now we have just the application following these topics, and I think that should be quite clear. We have only one stage. We have more stages of the MAG work, however, if we want to do the coaching. So that's something we may add internally within the agenda what should be the milestones of the MAG work in these couple of steps. But when it comes to the applications, it should be just one. Thank you.
So, thank you for confirming. I think that I have a beginner's luck, because without knowing, I sort of put more or less the right timetable on the for your consideration. We have 5 minutes for this part of the session. Michael.
Just very quick. The one change I think we might need is to move the first conference call after the deadline for proposals back a couple days, because we are proposing this initial screening just to catch the 5% or 10% of the topics that are completely off. But we do want to have a chance to look at those and say, okay, these don't belong. The other thing we'll need to add is probably some conference calls for the people who would be involved in the appeals process after the in-person MAG meeting. And again, that's probably 5 or 10 proposals at most. My last question is more important, though. I understand last year we changed the deadlines after we had published them. Can I understand why that happened? Because I was not part of that process.
Again, Chengetai will answer that question. Subi, very quickly.
Thank you, Yanis. I want to start out by congratulating Fiona and Susan for the excellent work they've done this morning. I also second Fiona's idea and Thomas's idea. The costs in May in Geneva are absolutely prohibitive. So if we're struggling for a venue, that is a good enough reason to also look at another option for the meeting. I don't know if Istanbul is at all a possibility. It gives us an option to visit and or any other city for that matter. Our friends from the EBU were also extremely gracious hosts for an alternative venue, so I don't know if that is something that if we're wedded to Geneva for this meeting, that is another option that we can explore. I also want to take Vlada's point on board. We have started out with a good process this time. We have community inputs. I think if we can look at doing this as a two-stage process, we should give it a shot. Thank you.
So thank you. Giacomo?
Despite the fact that my people are still under shock of your visit of last year, I can offer again the hospitality. There is a problem for the dates that I've already checked on the calendar of the rooms. There is a problem for 19 and 20, but the rest of the week is fine, but we need to book quite early if really we need that. But this doesn't solve the problem of the hotel that Suvi mentioned, unfortunately. We cannot host you for lodging on the night.
In the sleeping bags on the floor. Paul.
I just wanted to second Subi's very interesting proposal to go to Istanbul. I think it would be really useful for the MAG to have that that exposure to the site and the ability to understand better what we're in for. And I think in the past it's been that the lack of connection or the lack of that opportunity has possibly been an issue that would be great to improve. So I second Subi's suggestion. Thanks.
Paul, you have a vested interest. That would be shorter flight for you. Michael.
Just to note that Microsoft has a very large facility there, and I could check into availability. We've hosted other outside conferences there quite commonly.
Marilyn?
I approach the calendaring with such a detailed list of meetings. I am staggered by. I've been looking forward to the discussion about the dates, but and I know we have mentioned already the fact that CSTD is a full week. It is very possible, because of the challenges that we face, that there may be additional work related to the CSTD working group a day or two before, which might affect some of us. But my primary reason for taking the microphone is to note that if we are suggesting and it were to be possible to be accommodated by our gracious host from Turkey, we would be asking them to take on additional fast-track responsibilities on visa clearance as well. So I just wanted to, I'm not saying anything in support or against, but noting that that would be an additional request.
So the last intervention from Peter.
I just want to follow up what Henriette said, that we should be aware of the importance of the meetings we are having here in Geneva as for the future of the IGF. So probably I fully understand the concerns of hotel prices and all the difficulties we may face. On my part, I can offer some lodging accommodations in my home here in Geneva. Probably it wouldn't help very much. I have to talk to my wife about it as well. But on a more serious tone, yes, we should be very much aware of the importance of the CSTD meeting and the council meeting on the RTU. Thank you.
So thank you, Paul Rendek. You, okay. I promised 12:30. Half an hour for the working groups. I keep my promise, it's 12:30. As I mentioned, we expect one slide, themes, sub-themes, and the same fine-tuning of other proposal. And please be back in the room at 3, and we will continue our discussion. And at 3 o'clock we will also answer the question of possibility of moving meeting outside Geneva. So thank you. And thank you, interpreters, for helping us.